razor blade. Up, then down we slide. Risk it all on the market tide. Buy, sell, ring that bell. Chaos screams on the trading floor. Money talks, who's keeping score? Numbers dance like a fever dream. Red and green in a digital stream. One wrong move and the floor falls out. Greed and fear, they scream and shout. Buy, sell, ring that bell. Fortunes made and fortunes lost. What's the price this game we cross?
This is Wall Street Weekly with BC PortCorp. Listen deeply, charts bleed reality. Green mixed with red, every ticker got a story, every dollar got a thread. Profits speak softly, losses scream loud. Bull markets whisper but the bears roar proud. Investing's more than digits, it's decoding minds. Patterns in the chaos, treasures you can find. Eyes wide open, stay sharp and precise. Cause easy money's myth, truth comes with a price. Watch the money flow, truth hidden in disguise. Risk what you know, wealth favors the wise. If you ain't thinking deeper than your pockets leak weekly, get your mind right. Get your mind right. Tune in to Wall Street Weekly. BC PortCorp. We making sense of the madness. Truth in the numbers. Clarity from the vastness.
Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of a Wall Street Weekly. I was bored on a Friday. We had some crazy job numbers data. So, you know what we got going on. We're going to give you a stream, break it all down, talk about the Figma IPO, because I've been talking about that one for quite a while, and it overperforms my expectations. I did not expect it to rip like it did. But I'm quite happy that I played that IPO game, and I hope a few of you got in on that as well. I've got a poll in the chat if you're over here on YouTube asking a few questions. Do you own some stocks, indices, single stocks, both, or none? So if you're over here on YouTube, go ahead and throw me a vote in that so I can kind of get a feel of what people are doing. I know we got a lot of crypto people over here, so I'm sure some of you are going to be voting no. For those of you on X, I appreciate all of you showing on up. If you're not a member on YouTube, if you could, come on over to the YouTube channel. Go ahead, vote in the poll. Give me a little thumbs up. It definitely helps the show out. But you know what we had going on this morning. There was an announcement of tariffs as well. We also got those terrible job numbers, and we've seen quite the sell-off on the stock market. So let's get over to that stock heat map, because there's a lot going on over there. As you can see, it is mostly a sea of red on the stock side. We've got Apple sitting down 2.46% right now. Nvidia sitting down 3.09%. Berkshire Hathaway doing all right. You know, he was sitting on a lot of cash, invested in a few companies that are a little resilient, so they're doing okay, sitting up 0.28% right now. Amazon getting smacked all around, down 8.66%. We've got Eli Lilly sitting up 2.58%, as the rest of the healthcare technology sector is also sitting pretty decent and in the green right now. We've got ExxonMobil sitting to the downside as well, down 1.81%. Tesla also sitting to the downside, 1.88%. We've got P&G looking to the upside, one of those resilient stocks. Definitely provides a lot of home goods. So P&G sitting to the upside right now, 0.41%. We've got Microsoft sitting to the downside after a very extremely green day the other day, down 1.86%. We've got Google sitting down 1.6%, and Meta sitting down 3.25%. A lot of red over here on the stock market, and if you have any stock requests you'd like me to take a look at, go ahead, throw them in the chat, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. I see Meet Damien in here. I appreciate the subscribe, and if you haven't checked out Meet Damien's channel, you definitely should. Hopefully we can get him as a guest over here sometime. I see Wick's wife in the chat as well. Good afternoon to you. Hope you're having a great day. Dylan VA in here as well. Hope you've been having a great day. We got Trade Intuition. He forwarded over to my channel, so I appreciate you doing that, Trade Intuition. Glad to see you in the chats as well. I'm pretty sure you're one of those people that voted you don't hold any stocks on that poll, so maybe by the end of the stream we can get you to change that vote and maybe hold a single stock. We've got Alexander G in here. Good afternoon to you. We've got Gandhi G as well. I appreciate you tuning on in. Hope you're having a great day. Not seeing anything else in the chat for now, but if you got any of those stock requests you'd like me to take a look at, go ahead, throw them in here, and we will get to that in just a second. You know, we had a lot of news this morning, so let's get over to some of those news articles we were looking at this morning. We've got Figma stock rises after a record IPO surge. Kathy Wood bought in. There's a hurdle for others. You know, we've been talking about Figma for about 2 weeks now. They provide a very good service. They were going to get bought by Adobe. They had to back out of that because, they would have had too big of a market share in that sector, providing visual aids and a little bit of AI stuff as well. Adobe backed out of that deal because the UK strong armed them out of it. But that doesn't mean that stock didn't perform. We've got Figma stock was climbing early again Friday after a big surge on its stock debut. There's still lots to be plenty of there still looks to be lots of plenty of pent-up demand for the design software company, but it will require an accepting eyebrow-raising valuation. Figma shares were trading at 120.37 in early trading, up 4% from their close at 115.50 the previous day. The stock more than tripled following its initial public offering on Thursday, priced at $33 a share, marking the biggest ever first day rise for an IPO, which raised more than $500 million according to Renaissance Capital. So what's to come next for the stock? There isn't much Wall Street coverage yet, with analysts typically waiting 25 calendar days after an IPO before initiating coverage. We've been talking about it quite a bit here because of its AI technology. It makes coding extremely easy if you're trying to do web-based applications, and makes photo editing extremely easy as well. They are trying to compete with Adobe on that front. They're trying to compete with Microsoft on their coding front, and with Google as well. Both of those companies have an extremely efficient AI bot that helps you code applications, and Figma does it extremely well, where you can test that coding in a web-based space. All of this is just released out of beta, so right before their IPO, they allowed people to use that coding if you pay their lowest subscription tier. So a big move for Figma. They have amazing earnings for the first quarter of the year, up 46% from last year. It's continuing to go on a winning streak, has done quite a bit, and we will be watching this stock quite heavily. Figma is valued about a third less than its competitor Adobe. I feel like that's a lot. It has potential, but I'm waiting for a pullback and a buying opportunity before I get exposure to it, said Meet Damien. I got a little bit lucky, got in on the IPO, and I'm quite happy right now. We will take a look at that chart here in a little bit, and I will tell you some of those levels I'm looking at for some potential extra entries, or if you didn't enter in, an entry for the next ride up. Let's compare the market cap of Figma and Adobe. I can definitely do that one a little bit later once we get through the rest of these news articles. Analysts trumps 50% Brazilian coffee tariff expected to rejig trade. This is just one more tariff that we've been watching. We talked about potentially getting Brazil in on a trade deal. It was one of those bigger countries down in South America that I had been eyeing for a potential trade deal to be set up with, and it looks like they're trying to strong arm them. Coffee is one of their bigger exports, looking like some of that's going to be going to China now. They also have a lot of beef that they export, a little bit of a competitor to America with that, but they've got oil, and that's going to be that next thing that we really want to pair up with on Brazil. Kind of keep some of those countries that we've been doing a little bit of arguing with on the global trade stage. You've seen a lot of countries like India was buying oil from Brazil, kind of got a little bit of a slap around for that. They are sitting at 15% tariffs, and we'll kind of have to watch that one unfold. And then this one, talking about all the tariffs that are going into effect here. We've got several countries that are going to be hit with these tariffs that were originally announced and then kind of put on hold once and then twice, and then watching a lot of negotiations happen. We did see South Korea squeezing in just under the bell before these tariffs were relaunched today. So where's Trump's tariff monies going? Here's what he said and how much has come in. President Donald Trump found what he called some good news on Friday amid a disappointing jobs report and a sliding stock market. Tariffs, he said, are bringing billions of dollars into the USA. Trump isn't wrong at all. The most recently available data from the Treasury Department shows more than 150 billion in customs duties have been collected for the fiscal year to date. Trump has floated many possibilities for using the increased tariff money as his trade wars played out. Meanwhile, the effect of higher tariffs are beginning to filter through the economy, and we will have to watch this one going forward as these tariffs are actually in place now. There is a few countries that they're still trying to negotiate with, but we've got some very good deals in place with durable goods manufacturers in India, South Korea. We saw Japan make a deal as well. We got the European Union and the UK. So we're making deals all over the place, trying to keep the American economy strong. I see Crypto Jar in here. Hope you're having a great day so far. Appreciate you showing on up. And off of all of those tariff announcements and off of some extremely disappointing job numbers, which we'll get to in just a second. Watch out for the flashbang. We've got an 84, almost 85% chance of a rate cut coming in September. We'll kind of have to watch these inflation numbers going forward because that's going to be the big barrier on actually getting a rate cut. As you watch inflation rise, but your job numbers really suffer, it makes it hard to actually cut rates, because though the rate cuts will help with the jobs and make it a little bit easier to borrow money so that you can actually hire people and get more people in the workforce, it also raises the risk of increasing inflation even higher, and inflation has been extremely sticky. And we've watched it be extremely sticky since we started cutting rates. That 50 basis point cut kind of increased our inflation quite a bit. And after we got that full basis point cut, we really had to hold off for a while, which is no different than what we watched in the European Union, what we watched in the UK, and what we watched in Canada. So we'll kind of have to keep our eyes on that and those inflation numbers and see if we actually get that possibility of a rate cut, or if that just goes back down towards below that 40% chance like it was right before we got the data. Let's hop over to that data real quick, and then we'll see what else we got in the chat for now. Let's scroll it on down. Oh, that was that's next week's. Let's get it here. We've got those job numbers, which came out extremely disappointing. Your average hourly earnings, which I had talked about this morning on Good Morning Crypto, came in pretty much on forecast. We saw a slight increase, but that doesn't do a whole lot when you're seeing that weakening job market and you're seeing those inflation continuing to increase. Scrolling on down, we got those non-farm payrolls really coming in under forecast. Was 14K last time, 73K this time. That forecast was 110, and that's really under what you're trying to see, especially when you're talking about a giant sector of the American economy. We produce a lot of food for the world, and this is not the metrics you want to see. You had government payrolls coming in at negative 10K. I'm not too disappointed about that. We've been seeing a lot of job cuts in the American government. So seeing that number decrease is not too unexpected. Doge was was doing their job is still doing some work, even though Elon Musk is not in charge of it. You had manufacturing payrolls really continue their decrease. Was negative 15K last time, seeing it forecasted at negative 3K, which is still a decrease on top of a decrease, is not a positive move, but that came in extremely hotter than we were looking for. That was 11K, negative 11K on that, and a massive decrease from the last decrease that we had seen on the prior announcement. You did have your unemployment rate at 4.2%, was forecasted at 4.2, came in at 4.2, but that's still an increase from 4.1. They're talking about maximum unemployment, and it looks like we're getting a little bit hotter than maximum unemployment or maximum employment. So looking like we're struggling just a little bit on those job numbers. ISM PMI manufacturing also came in under forecast, was looking at an increase to 49.5, came in at 48, so a full point decrease on that ISM PMI for manufacturing. Not what you want to see for another strong sector of the American economy. We do have a Fed chair speaking here in 51 minutes, and we will definitely be keeping our eye on what he says. This was one of those Fed chairs, I believe, that had a dissenting vote and wanted to see a rate cut. So he might have been right, but we'll just have to see going forward if we get those rate cuts and if that'll help that job sector without hurting inflation too much. Let's hop over to some of those charts that we take a look at every single time here on Wall Street Weekly, and those are going to be those indices. We've pulled back down on our NASDAQ to our CME gap. That is what we had talked about on the last show. This was before we even got any of the data. We talked about coming back down towards our CME gap as we had made new all-time highs. We were looking back down to see where we might get some bouncing, looking like we're breaking into that CME gap right now as that red candle continues to print with a downwards trend. You are getting some oversold signals, not too unexpected after a very quick move towards the downside, but that definitely looks like you could continue to see a little bit of some sell-off here on the MACD. Let me get that moved over a little bit more. Got that MACD line still pointing down. Your money flow is extremely red here on the daily, and you're getting a little bit of some sideways momentum on that prime oscillator, but nothing too crazy right now. We do have this CME gap that I would look to kind of bounce off of. We did create one towards the upside, so that's going to be a little battle area once we go back up. Let me get that one drawn out for you. I don't know why it wasn't already drawn out. Sometimes I do things on my tablet that doesn't sync up with my PC. There we go. We got this giant CME gap towards the upside. This is going to be a little bit of a battle zone once we retest this old CME gap. We still had this area down here at 20,197 that we were really looking at for a little bit of some bouncing if we lose the CME gap. Let's take a look at that shorter term time frame, and you can kind of see here we are breaking back below our indicator line here on the MACD. You can actually see it there. We've got that breaking below that indicator line here on the MACD. We've got it pulling back up just a little bit, but that money flow continuing to come out here. So we'll kind of have to watch this money flow, see how the tariff announcement and these job numbers really settle with people as we go into the weekend, and watch how that stock market opens up on Monday. You might get a little bit of a pump back up to the CME gap that we just created, and then try to see if we can hold the CME gap all over again, as we do see a little bit of some weakness there. Let's get over to the S&P 500 because it looks quite similar, but we've got a much harsher drop there. We got very, very close to that target we were talking about being that $6,200. We created a gap on our gap, so let's get rid of this gap right here, and then we'll redraw a gap out to really show where this new gap was made. We have this candle here and our candle body there. So a massive gap to really get back up to here and then see if we can get back into it. I would expect a little bit of some resistance there. Let's scroll it on out. Take a look at that higher term time frame, your money flow here on the daily. After that loads, give it just a second there. You've got your MACD line breaking below our indicator line here. Start to print those red candles. There we go. There's that prime oscillator. Running a little bit slow today, don't know what's going on with that, but that money flow starting to break towards the selling line here. So we'll kind of have to watch this. We've got that bearish divergence that is stacked up as well. Our secondary reversal signal has flashed here on the daily. So I'm watching to see if we hold that 6,200 point. If not, would look to see if we close out that CME gap that is below us. We got some nice touches off of the midline of it. Let me get that drawn out a little bit better there, coming off of that candle body. There we go. Locked and loaded. We've got that CME gap directly towards the bottom side, which is still open. We got some nice touches off the midline of it, which we said if we don't hold 6,200 to watch us come back and close on. We are seeing a lot of bearishness in the markets right now with all of the news that came out on tariffs and the job numbers. So we'll kind of have to see if next week we get that continued sell-off. Let's zoom it on in, take a look at the hourly here. Hourly does look like you could see a little bit of some pump there, but not looking like we're gonna see anything too crazy. Once you start zooming that in a little bit further, hourly does still have some positive money flow, but your volume's starting to slow up a little bit. You see those oversold signals, but with the CME gap above us, I would look at some resistance coming in at that 6,287 point. Let's see what we got. Anyone heard from Jesse? Heard he was in an accident. I haven't. I hope he's okay. Yes, he ended up falling off of his bike, and I believe he said he broke his hip. So hopefully they're getting that all sorted out right now. They said he was going to need some surgery. So if you don't hear from Jesse, that's what's been going on with him. Send him well wishes if you've got him on the Discord. Give him a prayer, hope that he recovers quite nicely. And for now, we're going to be saying that Jesse got some sleep, because I'm sure he's going to be doing a lot of resting. All the best wishes to Jesse and his hip. We do have this 15-minute with some extremely red money flow as well. We're getting a little bit of some bullish sentiment as that MACD does come above our indicator line. You've got this bullish divergence that is stacked up, but is getting completely ignored as you're getting that curvature back over here on the prime oscillator. Your volume is holding up quite nicely here. But with that volume holding up quite nicely and that money flow continuing to come out, it does look like that increase and hold up of volume is all some selling pressure. So if you do get a little bit of a pump up above towards the CME gap, I would look at that coming in as a little bit of some resistance for now. Looks like I had that CME gap drawn out all wrong. Let's actually get it to the right candle, because it's showing a little bit different on that hourly there. There we go. Let's hop over to that Russell 2000. Look how our small cap stocks are doing, because we talked about this one as well on our last show, needing to see a little bit of some cool off. Let's get that zoomed on out to the daily. This daily, you can really see we made another giant gap here after we lost this golden pocket. We were sitting in a range that we didn't want to see lost. We lost it with some strength, and we had talked about some lower levels, which is not too unexpected after we saw some resistance back below our old high. So looking to see if we can get some bouncing action off of the 50% line on our fib extensions. We've still got a giant CME gap below us that we could do some testing on as well. Let me actually show that as filled, because that is filled there. That is the wrong thing. There we go. Let me show that as filled, because it is filled. That'd be that area to kind of watch for if we don't hold this whole area here. And that's coming in at $2,041. That is an area to kind of watch for. If you can't hold this 50% line, your daily is looking a little bit bearish here, as you're getting that hard curvature underneath our indicator line here, and that prime oscillator is still on its way to the downside. Doesn't mean you might not see a little bit of some bouncing action in the meantime, like we're seeing right now off of our 50% line here on the fib extensions. But your prime oscillator is still sitting very red, and it's getting a little bit of some sideways momentum, and I'd look for a little bit of some curvature on top of that to indicate you might see a little more bearishness. Let's zoom that on in. Take a look at the 15 minute. You did make a little bit of a higher high here. You've got your second low coming in a little bit higher, looking like you might come in with a higher low here as well. And then I would look to see if we find resistance at $2,193. That's where we made another CME gap, and with how that higher term time frame was looking, you might see that come in as a little bit of some resistance, especially with how the rest of the market is looking as well. Let me get that gap drawn out as well so you can get that visual aid in there. Another big gap for an indice here. You did see gold, on the other hand, getting some nice pumps towards the upside here. We are back above our 236, which is an area we've talked about over and over. We did lose that quite heavily, got very, very close towards our 382, and now we're looking to see if we can get back above our 236 and really hold that. You've got your money flow in the green here on the daily, getting that curvature back towards the upside on our MACD and prime oscillator as well, and that bearish divergence really played out here. So our first level to really get back above is going to be $3,373. We do need to hold this 236 at $3,346 first before we can really get up to that point. Taking a look at the hourly here, we are still getting a little bit of some upside movements as your money flow is trying to get back into some positive money flow. You've got your volume increasing here. Those overbought signals have flashed. Overbought signals have flashed, but are pretty much completely being ignored. Prime oscillator trying to cool off just a little bit. You got a reversal signal at the top of this very big candle here, but you're not seeing too much reversal just yet. We will have to watch that money flow, see if we get that little bit of a bouncing action off of the 236, and then try to make our way back up to that $3,373. If you don't hold that, I would look back down here towards $3,310. That's where we saw a little bit of price holding up at, and you saw a little bit of resistance at when we're trying to make our way back up to the 236 there. So that's those few levels towards the upside, few levels towards the bottom side there. I'm not seeing any stock requests in the chat. If you got any you'd like me to take a look at, go ahead and throw them in there. We were asked for a comparison of Adobe and Figma, so let's get that pulled on up here. Let me get Figma pulled up. I know it's up here somewhere. I added it to my list. There we go, Figma, and we will compare that to Adobe here. And that's the US dollar, not what we were wanting to look at. Adobe, here it is. Oh, switched the wrong one. Let's get Fig pulled up for that one. Fig, there we go. And we've got a nice little comparison here on that price action. Adobe getting that nice strong drop. But let's get over to those market caps there. Let me add Adobe to that one. There we go. There's Adobe. And we will see that little comparison. Adobe sitting with 257 million on volume. You've got Figma sitting with some nice volume at 48.35 million. So quite a bit of volume on top of that. Let's see if we can get the rest of those metrics in there for you. Nope, not the volume. Let's see that. Scroll it on down and see if we can find that market cap there. Adobe looking like a little bit of a sell. Analyst ratings are saying buy, but you're seeing a strong sell on the technicals. Scrolling on down a little bit further. Where's the market cap there? I know it's here somewhere. 1 year price target. Nope. Performance coming in a little bit low. Where was it? I know it's here somewhere. Market cap 148.81 billion for Adobe, and for that market capitalization for Figma, its competitor and a brand new IPO coming in at 56.3 billion. So looking like it's about a third of Adobe's market cap, which is quite crazy there, especially for a brand new stock who does a little bit more than Adobe does. I am quite happy that I got in on that. And let's take a look at that Figma stock here. Got it pulled on up. Let's take a look at the Figma price action after that IPO. Let's get it on that shorter term time frame. We made a massive gap on opening today. We did already close that gap, so let's get that filled on in. I pulled that quite a bit earlier before we had filled the gap, and now we're sitting directly to the bottom side of that gap, looking like we're seeing a little bit of some resistance at that point. I would look for this 236 to hold, coming in at 103.15. That's that area to kind of watch for to see if we get some price reaction off of it. If not, we do have some nice levels back down here at about 83.96, coming in all the way to the top side of this green candle, which is 93.37. We did see a lot of bouncing action directly below that 236 there, and we'll kind of have to see if we can hold up these levels first. Let me get that horizontal ray drawn up for you. Those are some areas to kind of watch for. $100.15. We do have this nice box below us to draw out where we might see some buying action coming into play. That's going to be right to the bottom side of that 382. That's that next real level to really watch for. Midline of that buying box is going to be pretty much in line with that 382. Let's get that drawn out as green so you know it's a buying box, an area where I'll be extremely interested in doing some buying. Meet Damien said TQQQ. Let me get that one put on my list there. We can take a look at TQQQ. As this is a brand new stock, it's very hard to really gauge too much until we start getting a little more price action. So those are those few levels for now that I would keep my eye out. We do have the 382, the 236 coming in at that 103.15. If you're unable to hold that, at least trying to hold the lows at 115. If not, we've got a very nice buying range directly below that, coming in top side $93.60, bottom side coming in at $84.65. Quite a big area to watch for. All set. Oh, I thought I was already subbed. Well, subbed now. I appreciate you showing up, All Set. I'm glad you found the show. Let me get that in the chat for you. Appreciate you showing on up. You here in the mornings, you here in the evenings, you here in the middle of the day as well. Glad to see you here. Hopefully you like some stocks. Go ahead and vote in that poll. Let me know. We got those questions being asked. Do you own single stocks? Do you own indices? Do you own both? Or do you own none? Looking like none is still the clear winner on that. 67% saying they own no stocks. 17% saying they own both single stocks and indices, and 17% saying they own single stocks. I am of that both category. I have indices in my retirement portfolio and single stocks in my actual investment portfolio. So that's how I play that one. Let's get on over to the Dixie, and then we will take a look at TQQQ. Off of that very bad data this morning, you did see the Dixie rejecting off of a level we had talked about from back here. We got that equal candle wick and equal candle body. Let's zoom it on in, see where exactly we had pulled it from. I believe it was from the hourly. No, it was not from, yep, it was from the hourly, where you got that bounce and then quick rejection off of. So 151 was an area we were watching for on the Dixie. We got a very strong rejection off of that, off of those bad job numbers and tariff data as well. There was a big fair value gap on that directly above us, but looking like that golden pocket is coming in as some very, very strong resistance right now. Let's get that MACD zoomed on out so you can get that view a little bit better there. You're getting that curvature on your MACD. Prime oscillator heading back towards the upside, but we are continuing to see money flowing on out of the dollar. Let's get that zoomed back out to that higher term time frame, see what we might be looking at there. You've got a 97.22 being that area I'd kind of watch for. That's pulled from way back here, where we got some strong bouncing action after we lost that golden pocket. You saw that strong bouncing action coming off of it again after we lost the golden pocket. Some quick moves to the bottom side of it. Now we're waiting to see if we get some bouncing action on the top side of it again, and if we don't hold that, I would look a little bit lower on the Dixie. We have been losing a lot of strength on the Dixie. That next level coming in at about $96 and $96.40 on that. Let me get that horizontal rate drawn out for you. This is going to be a higher term time frame. Let's get that marked out. This is going to be a higher term time frame as well. So let's get that one marked out as well. And this is going to be our shorter term time frame where we had seen that resistance coming on in. So if we can't at least get back up towards the top side of that golden pocket, I would look for a little bit of some resistance and coming on back down to our area where we saw some support. It is a weaker area of some support now, and that 96.375 would be that real strong area to watch for. BC PortCorp, apologies if you haven't answered already, but what platform do you invest in your stocks? I use Webull. That link is in my description. If you end up using Webull with that link, you can get free, I believe it's 10 free single stocks. It won't be anything too crazy. They're not going to give you a share of Amazon, but they will give you a few free stocks for signing on up and making a deposit. So I like Webull quite a bit. My company does not offer a 401k, and they don't offer a retirement match. So Webull does that for me for about $8 a month. I get a 3.5% match on that. I like Webull quite a bit. I used to use Robinhood back in the good old days, and then they halted some of my trading. I lost out on quite a bit of money on Robinhood, and then I switched over to Webull. Webull has been around a lot longer than Robinhood has. They've never halted trading on a single stock. That is why I use them now instead of using Robinhood. Also, if you like TradingView, they use the same style charting. It is TradingView powered, but it is not directly TradingView. So they have a lot more complex charting that you can do inside of their app. And they've got a nice desktop application. They've got a very, very great mobile application as well. So that's where I do all of my stock stuff. That is Webull. Go ahead, check out that link. and you get a free few stocks for signing on up. I appreciate you dropping that link in the chat for me, Alexander G. Everyone on X, if you're not a member yet of Webull, let me get that shared over for you as well. They will give you a few free stocks for signing on up. Nothing too crazy, but the free stocks they gave me were dividend stocks that paid me out in money that I just reinvested in my dividends. If you like that dividend game, we can do a whole show on stock dividends and show you some of the best that are out there. Let's hop on over, take a look at TQQ for Meet Damien. We got TQQQ. That was Pro Shares Ultra Pro QQQ on the NASDAQ. Let's get this zoomed on out to an extremely high time frame. Let's see what we got there. Zooming on out a little bit further, take a look at the weekly here. I don't think I've ever looked at this one. This must be an indice here. That's what my guess would be with Pro Shares. That would probably be an indice. Indices are a great place to park your money if you're not exactly sure where to put it in a single stock. You get that broad exposure, a little more safety. Let's see what we're looking at here on a fib extension, as it does look to be in a bullish trend here. You're making those higher lows. You've made a slightly higher high here. So let's get this pulled on up. You've got your high to your low to your high to your low. Looking like that platinum pocket is our strong resistance area here on our fib extensions. We're doing a little bit of some battle with our golden pocket right now. We've got a giant gap towards the bottom side that I wouldn't look at filling just yet now, but if you do start losing some of these levels, that giant gap towards our bottom side would be an area to watch for. That's directly below our 382 on this extension. Let's see what we're looking at here on that MACD and prime oscillator here. Looking like you might see some buying opportunities coming in here. Not extremely not in the extreme short time, but here coming forward, if we do lose some of these levels, this MACD and prime oscillator here on the weekly might cool off just a bit with some downside action. You're getting that curvature on the weekly here. You're getting that curvature here on the weekly for that prime oscillator as well, and that money flow sitting in the red. Volumes increasing though here on the weekly, so I'd kind of watch for our shorter term time frames what kind of price action you are going to get with how that money flow and volume is looking. Let's see, I've been back testing NQ and Tesla. Tesla's a great company. If you're trying to get that broad range exposure in both AI and automotive, if you're trying to get that exposure for Starlink for internet services and for SpaceX as well. So since you can't buy the rest of those companies, a lot of people just buy Tesla. Let's see, we can put Tesla on that list as well. Tesla, and we can take a look at NQ as well. Let's get this zoomed on in, take a look at the daily here, see what we're looking at. We've made a big gap towards the top side of us. Let's get that drawn on out. That'd be a resistance area to kind of watch for if you hold the golden pocket. Let me get that zoomed on in so I can draw that a little bit better. Let's get that drawn out as our CME gap. We color those blue around here. Our fair value gaps are purple and our buying zones are going to be green. So let's take a look, see what we'd look for if we lose this golden pocket. You've got that money flow, getting that hard curvature back towards the downside with that bearish divergence stacked up as well. MACD breaking below our indicator line and that volume trying to increase just a little bit. So with that sell off coming our way, it does look like that increase of volume is selling pressure. We will kind of have to see if we hold this golden pocket on that shorter term time frame. Getting that 1 hour pulled up, you are seeing a little bit of some bouncing action coming off of that. you have another little gap right below our right above our 50% line here. Let's get that one drawn out as well. That'd be an area to watch for if we lose this golden pocket, if we don't get that bouncing at 79.88, where we see all of that price action bouncing off of right here. So let's get that drawn out as well. Make that a little bit of a shorter time frame bounce because that is on the 1 hour there. So that's that area to watch for directly below us if we lose this golden pocket on our fib extensions at 82.83. Would look for that rollover back down to 79.88 and then see if we can hold that. You do have your money flow continuing to come out here on the hourly. You do have your true 7 clip, but doesn't mean anything if you don't see that switch of money flow here. Your volume is holding quite steady at here as well, so indicating we're seeing a lot of selling pressure heading our way with that increase of volume and that money flow being mostly selling pressure. Let's get that zoomed on in. Take a look at the 15-minute there. 15-minute making some lower highs and looking like you might have made another lower high here as well. So looking like a little bit of a downtrend as that money flow continues to come on out here. You're seeing a lot of selling pressure. You've got that bullish divergence stacked up, but not looking like it's doing anything too crazy. If that does play out with a bounce off of our golden pocket, looking up towards our CME gap at 85, let's see, 85.25 would be that area of resistance to watch for, and then coming on back down towards our golden pocket fib extension, and that's coming in at that 82.88 area. So that's those price points to watch for in the short-term time frame. If you don't hold that golden pocket, looking at that 79.88. BC PortCorp, do you ever trade at precious metals, gold, platinum, oil, or what is your opinion on it? I do a little bit of trading on gold futures. Gold is a very nice asset. It does respect those Fibonacci levels quite nicely when your market is going the opposite way. Like now, when your market is in that dip, your gold is in that nice little pumping action. So when you watch Jesse Gluck in the chat, I'm glad to see you here. Hope everything's doing okay. Everyone, let him know that you hope he's doing great. I hope everything is going well in the hospital. I hope they figured something out for you. Give him some hearts in the chat. Let him know you appreciate him showing on up, even though he's not doing the best. Appreciate you showing on up. We've got gold getting that nice little pump. So if you're trying to really counter some of your stock action to the bottom side, that's a great way to do so, trading those futures markets. Give me just a second. I am getting a phone call here. Sorry about that. Jesse, I'm glad you're here. Like I was saying though, if you're trying to trade in the stock market, gold is a nice way to hedge when you're starting to lose. So you see in those futures markets, and you normally get the opposite of that's a happy call. Yeah, that was my girl. She was wondering what I was doing because I hadn't answered for about 50 minutes. She was like, did you fall asleep? I was like, no, I'm doing a live stream, babe. I told you I was gonna do that. But we got this nice little pump up towards the upside. I like to hedge that against my losing stocks, or if my stocks are on the upside, you can make a little extra money by shorting gold. So that's another thing you can kind of do over here with some oil. Let's get that one pulled up. Taking a look at crude here, you're seeing crude continue get a little bit of some dumping action off of this same news that everything else has. Seeing that slap around with Brazil, who is a competitor, Venezuela as well, who got hit with some major tariffs, another competitor for us on oil. Oil has not been doing too amazing. Zooming this on out, we do see this golden pocket coming in as a bit of a resistance area, so it's easy to trade those oil futures the same way that you're doing stocks. Let's take a look at something else as well. Copper, another big one that I like to trade. You do see copper moving along with your market in general. So we did see this massive sell-off off of some tariff news. A giant fair value gap here was about a 22% dip towards the bottom side. We dropped right below some of my buying levels that I was watching for, came down to our 50% line on those extension on that fib retracement, and then are looking at it as some resistance. So I do like to trade those futures. Precious metals are a great way to do it. They get those nice strong moves, especially if you're looking at something that it correlates to the market in general, or that goes opposite to the market. Gold often goes opposite to the whole market. Copper normally goes with the market. You have crude oil often going with the market, unless you see some crazy positive crude oil news, and then you'll see it go a little bit opposite of it. Just an extra way to compound on some of those gains with the futures. Hospital has an iPad, so I'm happy to watch on a bigger screen instead of my phone. Well, I love that for you, Jesse. Getting a little big screen action instead of on the phone, and you won't have to worry about fat thumbing anyone either. That's a problem for me. Let's take a look at one other thing before we wind the show on down here. We had Tesla talked about by all set, and you've been seeing Tesla in a bit of a downtrend here. Let's get this zoomed on out, take a look at that higher term time frame, seeing that very strong resistance area. We did have a big CME gap. I don't know why that's colored the wrong color there. It is closed, but this is a big CME gap directly towards the bottom side of us that I would kind of keep my eye on if we don't hold some of these levels up here at $291. That's where we saw a lot of resistance at. That's where we got a little bit of some bouncing action on as well. You are constricting price just a little bit here, so you do have that 50% chance of breaking towards the upside or breaking towards the downside there. Stock patterns play out a little bit better than crypto patterns, so that's why I do focus on patterns here in the TradFi markets. Let's get that resistance drawn up. Let's get that drawn a little bit better there. You see that resistance coming in extremely strong. Let's get that extended to the right there. There we go. That's our resistance area to kind of watch for. You do have a nice constricting price action here as well. Getting some nice bouncing action off of our support area here. And let's get this zoomed on in a little bit. Actually, let's zoom it on out just a little bit. Get a fib level pulled up from our lows towards our highs there. You've got your lows back here. See if that's the low to pull from. Looks like it is not the low to pull from. We will pull from our lows in this sideways range there. That's coming in a little bit better. So those are those two areas to kind of watch for. You've got your bottom side of a range, or you do the low before your move towards the upside there. This one's coming in at that low before that move towards the upside. You did see a lot of resistance coming in at the 382. Looking to hold that golden pocket right now, so that money flow is going to be what we watch for on the shorter term time frame as our price constricts heavily. You are getting those lower highs, but you are making higher lows, and as you constrict a little bit further in this range, you start to watch that shorter term time money flow, and that will give you your idea of if you're going to break towards the upside or if you're going to break towards the downside. You're getting a little bit of a break towards the downside on your MACD, and your prime oscillator getting that break towards the downside as well. But this money flow is holding a little bit nicely here with your low volume here on your daily. Let's get this zoomed on in. Take a look at our hourly here, see what we're looking at. After we got that little bit of some bouncing action off of our support, you're starting to see that sideways momentum on your prime oscillator. You get that moved over, seeing that sideways momentum on the prime oscillator. Money flow barely in that selling range, so we'll kind of have to see if that switches back to some buying pressure here as we stay towards the bottom side of that range. Wait for a stronger bounce off of that, and then see if we can make our way back up towards our resistance. Let's see what we're looking at here on our 15-minute. We are seeing a little bit of sideways momentum here as well. Money flow in the red here. We'll kind of have to see how that plays out going into next week. See if we can at least hold our support area and make our way back up towards that resistance. Let's get this zoomed on in even further. I don't look at the 1 minute very often, but this will give us a little bit of an idea how money flow was going. Maybe to get that brief money flow coming in. Saw our resistance here at $311 coming back into play, and then we're trying to see if we get that strong bounce off of our support area all over again. Your money flow is in the red here on the 1 minute. You do have some reversal signals that have flashed, but not looking like anything too crazy as that money flow continues to come out on a lot of time frames here. So we'll kind of have to watch as we get this market close here Friday, what we're looking at as we go into next week. I would look for next week potentially having a little bit of some bouncing action as we get a little bit of clarity on those tariffs. We see who actually gets affected, and then we'll see if things like Tesla are actually going to have to pay some tariffs on some imports of goods and things like that. So that is a Wall Street Weekly for you. I appreciate you all tuning on in. It is about time to wrap that show on up, and I will see you at Good Morning Crypto next week. If y'all have anything you would like to see going forward, if you want any new segments in the show where we take a look at some specific types of stocks, or we do a portfolio dive on some of those stocks that I like, we can definitely add a little bit of a section for it. Maybe do what I was looking at that week. Give me some ideas for what you'd like to see to switch some of that poll answers from 71% don't own a stock, and we will try to get that number up, because I see 14% saying they own single stocks and 14% saying they own both stocks and indices. I'd like to get those numbers up, and I think the best way to do that is going to be with some education here. So help me help you, educate you the best that you in the ways that you would need, and we will get those numbers changed going forward. Appreciate all of you showing on up. I will see you at Good Morning Crypto bright and early Monday morning, and then I will see you at the next one here on my channel with Wall Street Weekly.
This is Wall Street Weekly with PortCorp. Listen deeply, charts bleed reality. Green mixed with red, every ticker got a story, every dollar got a thread. Profits speak softly, losses scream loud. Bull markets whisper but the bears roar proud. Investing's more than digits, it's decoding minds. Patterns in the chaos, treasures you can find. Eyes wide open, stay sharp and precise, cause easy money's myth, truth comes with a price. Watch the money flow, truth hidden in disguise. Risk what you know, wealth favors the wise. If you ain't thinking deeper than your pockets leak weekly, get your mind right. into Wall Street Weekly. Wall Street With BC PortCorp, we're making sense of the madness. Truth in the numbers, clarity from the vastness.